Welcome again, dear students. Today we are going to take up another very interesting topic, that is introduction to ornithology. Or today in this lecture, in this live session, I am going to discuss why uh, we need to study the birds and why birds are important. Because birds are very very important if we talk about the biodiversity conservations and other things. Because it's a part of very important part of our ecosystems. So we'll discuss a basic understanding that actually help us to understand more about the birds, that why the birds are important, why we need to study the birds, and what important roles that actually the birds play in our daily life or enhancing our life itself. Let's start from the very basic thing, that what actually the birds are. And we start from the one of the famous ornithologist, Salim Ali. He actually described the birds as feathered biped animals. That animals which actually walk on two legs and have feathers, that is are called as birds. And if we go more deeper into the physiology and morphology, they are endothermics, vertebrates. That means generate their own heat, have feathers, have beak without teeth. They have heart with the four chambers, and so on. But if someone asks us regarding what actually the birds are, we can describe in a very very simple way that the birds are those animals which are actually biped animals and which actually walk on two legs and have feathers. This is the basic definition that we can say regarding the bird itself. And one of the interesting things that I can tell you regarding the birds, that most of us thinks that dinosaur is actually extinct. But I can tell you that there are these birds are the only dinosaurs that actually still roam on the earth. Dinosaur, I can say, did not go extinct. There's a group of dinosaurs called theropods. They have hollow bones, three forward pointing toes, and these theropods, dinosaurs, divided into four groups, and these birds actually evolved from one of those groups. So we cannot say that the dinosaurs are completely extinct, but they are still uh, through the process of the evolutions. There's a species called birds are still roaming that actually evolved from the one of the group of the dinosaurs called theropods, and it's still roaming, and we can see them in everyday of life. Another thing that we can say, why birds are important, and why these things are important for us, we can say the birds are everywhere. It's hard to imagine a square mile of India does not have at least a few bird species. Even if you go into the deserts of the Rajasthans, if you go into the frozen mountains of the high altitudes, or we can say uh, you can see birds everywhere. And I can say in each and every corner of the world, if you can go, you can stand there, so you can find a birds. Even you stand in your neighborhoods and start counting a birds for the 50 minutes, you can able to find, if you are a good observers, if you are a keen observers, you are able to find 15, or we can say 20 individuals of the birds. Are possibly, if the area is more rich, you can, the chances that you can also find more than 20 bird species in that particular area. So that's why, because they are everywhere, that's why they fascinate us. That's why we are more and more people are actually interesting regarding the birds itself. Another things that actually keeps birds important, and birds are diverse. There are more than 1300 species of the birds that have been recorded in India. You can see 13 more than 1300 species are there. That is actually 12% of the roughly more than 10,000 species that has been found worldwide. And these more than 10,000 birds around the world, and more than 1300 species that have been recorded in India, comes in different shapes, colors, and the sizes. The smallest birds, the hummingbird size of the eye, and the largest living bird, the ostrich. And heaviest extinct bird, the elephant bird of the Madagascar. They are everywhere. They are so diverse, they can fly, and that's why the people have actually fascinated by the birds for a long and long period of time. In these pictures, you actually can see that how the birds comes in the different colors, different shapes, different sizes, and that's why we are actually more and more people actually gets fascinated about these birds among these creatures. Another is birds actually fascinates us. Birds actually features, if you can go into the text stories and the birds, one can see them in the poetry in this very civilization. It's not like that the birds are having more people are interested nowadays regarding the birds. If you go into the into the history, into the Indus Valley civilization, you can find number of that we can say poetry textbooks full of the bird stories itself. They actually featured in ancient texts, myths, fables, in tribal folks, tales, painting, and craft, and number of things you can find out regarding the bird text itself. And they are actually inspiration for many contemporary stories, songs, and the words itself. That's why that's another reasons that birds actually fascinate us. Another is regarding the birds, why the birds fascinate us. There is a belief that about the crows, one of the bird species. You can also see that in the pictures. There is one bird called crow that actually carry food back to our ancestors. This is the we can say beliefs of some peoples, and they embody the souls of the departed. And so when someone died, the souls departed into this particular species. So this is also actually some kind of the beliefs that actually links us towards these creatures more and more closer. And another is we also draw some kind of the moral lesson from them as well. For example, what tell us, we can say the one species, we can say Saurus cranes, the legendary faithfulness of the, we can say these species Saurus cranes to each other, and how they are actually faithful to each other, how they can actually trust to each other. Because we can also learn from these creatures that how faithful they remain to each other. And there is another species that actually help us to know the document the seasonal patterns. There is species called white cuckoo is considered as the messenger of the monsoons in the central and the northern India. Beliefs validated by the modern research itself. The people thought when this particular bird species arrived, the monsoons also arrived. So the research has also proved this phenomenon itself. And if there is another bird species called Indian pitta, if you listen them carefully to their songs, as shown how the Indian pitta actually songs daily at 6 o'clock birds, and in many in their distribution area, it's also called as the 6 o'clock birds. And it's sure enough that it's time of the calls every day at that particular time of the years. So these are the things that how disciplined they are, how we can say faithful they are, how we can say we can draw different we can say seasonal pattern from them. These are the other things that actually we get closer and closer towards the bird species, and that's the reason that birds actually fascinate us. Another is the things why we study birds. Although we have in the previous lectures, we try to find out the why birds fascinate us, how diverse they are, and why people are interested by why we need to study the birds. Birds actually advance science, which actually advances the science, populations, communities, and the coexistence. Then these observations promoted how wild population are regulated, how competition between the related species are influenced, and by studying these bird species, we can actually develop an idea of trade-off between the cost and benefit analysis. Because every action of the birds, although our action are sometimes random, but every action of the bird species or every action of the animal species is based on some kind of the cost and benefit analysis. If his cost is more, then the birds will not go for that particular actions. If the benefit is more, then the birds go for that particular actions. So every decision they have taken in their daily life that has been based on the cost and benefit analysis. And there is they also help us to know the evolution of the reproductive decisions, that how much class size will be there, how much class size will be there that they are able to raise their chicks. They also take the daily decision regarding their foraging decisions, what to eat, what not to eat, how what will be the size of the things that they actually they are going to eat, because all these things are based on the cost and benefit analysis. And They also, we can say, give some kind of the social behavior forage, whether to live in a singly, whether to live in a group, whether to make a nest in the group, or whether to make the nest in the singles. All these things have been based on decisions of cost and benefit analysis. So these are the things that actually help us. We can also learn from the birds based on these decisions. And another things that we can say regarding the bird species, it's 1 second. Going to another things that we can actually learn is that from birds, the evolutionary patterns, how this particular single species, the seed eating bird species have been evolved into the different species itself. So these are the things that actually we can say keeps humans and the birds closer and closer, because we also learn any number of the things from the birds itself. Birds have also been, we can say, key model systems to study the fascinating topics, just like inherited versus learned component of the songs, whether the songs they have inherited or whether they learn the songs. These are the other things that actually we also learn from the birds. We also can find out some interesting topics from the birds: navigation and orientation during the migration, how they actually navigate, how they actually orient during the migration, because the birds migrate from thousands of kilometers from one place, from winting ground to the breeding ground, and back from the breeding ground to the winting grounds. And during this course, during this journey, they actually travel different mountains, frozen, we can say, areas, oceans, rivers, and different landscapes. And how by traveling these thousands of kilometers, how they actually navigate and how they actually orient, we also learn these things from the birds itself. Some of the interesting topics that the humans are interested, that how the actually birds are doing this. And another things we can actually, other topics that we can actually learn from the birds is hormonal and neural seasonal change. How the change have been happening in the birds. You can see the birds that, if you are a keen observer, you can see that during some of the bird species during the winter seasons or during the breeding seasons, they change their color, they change their feathers. How they actually doing this? How this hormonal change have been happened? How their songs have been produced in the birds, and how they learn. Some of the bird species have learned more than 100 of the different song species, how they actually do it. These are the other interesting topics that actually we actually also humans are also interested, or scientists are also interested, or researchers are also interested regarding the birds. They actually, by studying all these things, they actually help us to better understand the natural world itself. Another is birds also inspire engineering. They actually solving problems. Birds actually helps the engineers in solving the real world problems. Just like I'm just giving you the example of the world Japanese bullet trains. Earlier, actually, what happens? This model caused some kind of the sonic boom when actually they emerge from the tunnels caused by extremely compressed air suddenly expanding pushed out of the tunnels. And the scientists actually observed, or the engineers observed, that the kingfishers, there is one species called kingfisher, dive into the water with minimum disturbance. And then then they when they find out that how this particular bird species dive deep into the waters without any disturbance, and then they catch the fish, and then the engineers actually reshape the nose of the train, adding a long beak-like extension in the train, just you can see in these slides, and they actually decrease the noise and save the energy as well. So these are the other things I can say we actually learn from the birds by studying, by deep regarding the birds' behaviors and the birds' shapes. We actually also solve the real-time problems of our problems itself. Another is many inspirations are also actually under developments, because birds have hollow bones and very strong, and The engineers are also redesigning, we can say, strong yet light structures of the we can say these jets, similar to the structure of the bones itself. Because if you can see the bones of the birds, they are very strong, but they are very hollow. Hollow means they are lighter in weight. And the engineers are also thinking of that, how to make a stronger structures which are lighter in weights. Because when we are lighter in weight, it means we increase the efficiency of our jets itself. So these are the other things in which the scientists are also working on these aspects as well. And another thing is examining old feathers to decrease noise, and aeroplane wings and other moving objects. These are the other things that actually also under we can say developments, and the people are working on these phenomena, that how we can actually by learning birds more and more deeper, how we can solve the real time problems. Another is important things that actually related to the common man itself. The birds serve ecosystem. In forest, actually large frugivores birds called hornbill, if you can see in the pictures, are crucial for the dispersal of the seeded foods. Very important birds for the, we can say, dispersals of the seeded foods. And some of the nectar eating birds, just like we can say, we have sunbirds, hummingbirds, they actually help us in the pollination itself. So it means our ecosystems can't run without the help of the birds. And in agriculture we can see, in the agriculture ecosystems, we have insect eating birds can help us in pest controls, just like birds of the prey. And owls and the hawks presence on the farms actually reduce the rodent activity and their numbers thereby. So these are the things, we can say, the birds are actually indirectly helping the farmer itself. Indirectly, we can say, indirectly helping the agriculture ecosystem itself, indirectly helping the directly helping the pollinations. And the species like hornbills are, we can say, very important for the large seeding foods. So every birds, in the beginning of these lectures, I discussed with you that we have more than 1300 bird species in India, and more than 1000 bird species in the world. So each and every bird species is playing their roles to make this ecosystem functional. So it's up to us that how, whether we are caring for this bird species, or whether we are not caring this particular bird species, because they are actually helping us. And actually we are the people who are not acknowledging these their services, but they are actually helping the human being itself. Another is, bots are actually excellent indicator as well. Of the changing world. Nowadays, we can see there is a, we can say, due to rapid expansion of the agricultures, due to, we can say, fragmentations, degradations, cutting of the forest, problem like climate change, we need some species which are very indicator species, in which we can see the changing worlds. And how they are, and birds is one of such examples. They actually excellent in case of, we can say, indicator of the changing worlds. How they are doing it, we can understand the state of the natures and other creatures as well. But birds are more convenient. It's not like that the birds is the only thing on, based on that we can actually monitor or consider the indicator species. With the other species also as well, on the basis of that we can also see the changing world. But birds are actually convenient and easy to study because they are everywhere. So I've already discussed with you. Easily identified animals. And people around the world are fascinated about the bird species. So observing birds contributing to some of the largest biodiversity monitoring projects. Nowadays we have e-bird platforms, largest, we can say, biodiversity platforms, in which the lakhs and lakhs of the people are coming forward to contribute in this citizen science projects. And these things are rapidly expanding, and more people's coming on the, coming and joining these citizen science projects. And by, we can say, by joining the citizen science projects, we are actually directly or indirectly also increasing the data of the science, and based on that we can find out the long-term change that has happened in that particular area, that habitat alteration, global warming, spread of the environmental toxins. Just like we have throughout the India, people are observing the birds in different corners of the years, and they are doing this exercise regularly. And by maybe after 1 decade or 2 decades, we can see that at that, in that particular area, previously people used to see this particular bird species, and nowadays whether this particular bird species is increasing or decreasing, whether this particular that particular bird species are present, are there present there or not there. Based on that, we can also know the status of the particular bird species, and we also know the how much rich a particular area is. We can see a number of the things based on these system size projects. Another is how ornithology has been developed in India. It's not like that nowadays we are interested on this ornithology. There are 250. There is one phenomenon that's called as brood parasitisms, and there is 250 Sanskrit words identified refer to known species of the birds. Example here, third first documented brood parasitisms. So this is the first brood parasitism mechanism that has been recorded in 250 Sanskrit words. And birds of the one species, it means that the birds of the one species lays the eggs in the nest of the other species, which then act as the foster parents. So these are the things that people have previously historically also used to study these phenomena, and they also written these things in the texts, in the poems, in the stories, and in the other things. And how this we can say ornithology has been developed over a period of time. Several Mughal emperors were keen naturalists. Jahangir is one of them, and his court artist Ustad Mansoor's painting one of or only two known illustration of the dodo birds, which have been actually extinct later 50 years later, and it is first known painting of the Siberian crane that has been painted by this. Jahangir also wrote his own memories, which were full of natural history observations, because they're very keen observers, and they also describe the description of the brood parasitic habits of the bird species in their natural history notes. Then we can say science of ornithology that we understand today started actually in the colonial times. Many people consider T.C. Jordan's 1862 books, Birds of the India, to be the first significant milestone in the development of the Indian ornithology. And in the first decades of the 1900, most people contributed to the Indian ornithology were the Europeans, and they have efforts are revolved largely around describing birds and understanding their distributions. And these are the has been done mostly through collecting different specimens, and mostly many of these actually contributors were professional or were not professional. It means they did not make the earning from the ornithologists. They are actually interested in the bird species. They are not the full-time, we can say, professionals regarding the bird species. And later on, what we see, the Indian ornithology nowadays starting seeing more than Indian ornithology. Salim Ali is one of the first among them who actually give boost to the Indian ornithology. And there is a clear shift in focusing when the Salim Ali started observing the bird species. There is a clear shift in the focus from the specimen collection to the observations of the living birds to better understand their habitat preferences and their behaviors. That has been resulted in two remarkable books because of the efforts of Dr. Salim Ali, books of the Indian birds, which began to popularize birds and the birds watching among the large publics, and handbook of the birds of the India and the Pakistans. And they sort together the available naturalistic information of each into a single place. And then when these books come out, more and more people come forward for observing the birds, for seeing the birds, and for knowing the birds. And this is the timeline how different things has been happened over a period of time regarding the Indian ornithology. I'm not going deep into that. And this is all about today's lectures. What I can say that what we have learned in this day, my today's lectures, man crux is that birds are very important for us, and they are very diverse things, and we need to understand that these creatures are very useful, and they play a very important roles. They increase the science. They help us to understand natural world better. So we need to, there are many bird species, different species of the vultures. They are actually are on the verge of the extinction, and there are other things also. Different species, different grassland species, they are also on the verge of extinctions. So we need to monitor these things. We need to contribute in whatever possible way we can do, so that we can conserve these important creatures for the betterment of these ecosystems. So thank you, dear students. Maybe I will take one more live sessions tomorrow itself. Thank you very much.